is the second little lecture on NPSP. Um, Hopefully you watched the first one, which was about contacts and the thing that links contacts together, which is relationships, and the container that holds contacts, which is the household account. Um, if those three don't roll off the tip of your tongue, uh, you could go to Trailhead and learn some more about NPSP, and you can rewatch that video and make sure you've got good command of that. We're going to talk about accounts today. Now, you will remember from the introduction, we're admitting that Salesforce historically was a business to business tool and that most nonprofits need to track business to consumer ideas. You may also need to track business to business ideas. And NPSP is a tool that has adapted the Salesforce model to work really well for nonprofits. And so we covered that all people are contact, every human being. One thing I didn't cover is that if you actually work with animals as individuals, then it's perfectly okay to make a record type and track horses or dogs or snakes or whatever as contacts. That way they can have relationships with people and they can have relationships with other animals. So that is kind of my one exception for building record types into contacts. There are a couple other exceptions. If there are types of contacts that are never going to change and they're never going to be anything else, then it's probably okay to build a record type around the contact for that. But otherwise, you're going to want to not do that. And again, let me motivate why you don't want to do that. You are hoping that the people you serve will become volunteers and that the people who volunteer will become donors. You want a future where you have changed the world and people you knew in one way have expanded their relationship with you and know you in many ways. That is the goal, and so don't box yourself in. Every contact in best practice is associated with where they live, which is the household account, even if you have no idea where it is or who else might live there. Over time, you're hoping that will change. And so by having a household account, you have a place to put it. And contacts are related to one another in complex ways that you can begin to track with relationships. So let's move on to the organization. Organization is a record type of the biggest object in Salesforce, which is the account. I call it organization in order to just differentiate it from account. So this represents all the entities in the world that are not people. Employers, churches, groups, clubs, societies, schools, universities, colleges, whatever other entities that are not people that you might need to track, they are, I think, best tracked as organizations. And as I said, it's a record type. There are 2 record types provided out of the box for that are relevant by NPSP. One is the household account, and now we are talking about the other one, which is the organizational account. Accounts can contain people. That's how we use it in the commercial world. And you can do that in NPSP, but I do not recommend it, at least initially. If you're going through a big setup, that's fine, and you've got a consultant who can watch over this, it's fine. But if you are doing this yourself and you're small, and remember that is the target of these videos is best practices for small nonprofits, that I do not recommend that you attach any context to your organization. I have a report that shows me any people that are attached directly to the organizational account, and I consider it an error, and we remove them. They belong attached to their household account. We'll talk about how I connect them to organizations in a minute, but let's finish talking about the organizations. So there's all these places and blanks in Salesforce for attaching people directly to the organization, and please don't do it as a best practice. You can use the account hierarchy. If you're dealing with universities and colleges and schools, it is perfectly legit to have a school system and have as an entity. and then to have individual schools as entities and have the parent entity of the school be the school system. Like similarly, if you're dealing with universities and colleges, you can create that. If you're dealing with churches, they may have committees or classes, and each is an entity, but they can be parented to the church itself. So you can use that to your heart's content. I think about 5 layers deep is about all that makes sense in Salesforce, but you can use that parenting to sort of group things and arrange things. Um, Let me go to my organization and show you. Let's make this smaller. I will just show you our organization, Street Youth Ministry. I recommend that your organization be in Salesforce as an entity. Uh, that way you can attach employees and staff and board members. Um, you can represent those in Salesforce. You will not attach them. Um, what you may want to do though is record their address, and you may want to record their website, and you may want to record their main phone number, and you may want to, if you have one person who's always the go-to contact for that entity, you may wish to set them as the primary contact. But you're going to resist the urge to add anybody here. See, contacts is 0. Um, I don't know whether I have set the primary contact to visible at all or not, because I'm not even sure. You can see it has billing address and shipping address. It has all the features that an account has in Salesforce Commercial. I haven't made visible any of the other features in my org because they don't really matter to us. You can, if I edit this, here we go. You'll see a few of the other fields that are set. You can add types to this. Salesforce comes with a type, an industry kind of a pick list. You can add as many pick lists to this as you want to classify it. Do keep in mind that it's never going to be perfect. For example, I may know an entity as a church, but they are at the same time likely an employer, and they may very well become a partner or a donor or a grant making agency. And so no classification is going to be very perfect. I recommend that the main reason you know this entity be what you list here, and you go from there. You can have a phone and you can have a website, and I don't know that we have listed I think formal greeting is something I added. You can add the parent account here. We don't have a parent account. You can have the primary account. The primary contact. You can set to you can point it at a person. Here it is. If I wanted to, I'm the primary contact, so I'll go ahead and do that. I am the primary contact for Street Youth Ministry, so I'll save that. So that gives you some idea of what you're doing. But remember, this is going to be clubs and groups of people, and maybe Bible study classes, or maybe committees, grant making committees. It can be grant making agencies. It can be lots of different entities. But it's not going to have any people attached to it, except maybe in the one way that I just attached the main go-to person. We're going to use something called an affiliation to connect everyone else. An affiliation is a connection between a person and an organization. And it just like it has a role, and it can be current or expired. And you can put start dates and end dates on it. So you can begin to see if you work with schools, you could have the principal in Salesforce as a contact, and you could connect him to the school through the affiliation with the role of vice president. I'm sorry, a principal. And if you knew when he started, you could put his start date. And if this principal retires, you could mark him this. You can go edit that in Salesforce. You may not be ending a relationship with him at all. He may become a board member, or he may become an advocate in the community, or he may move to another school. But he's no longer the principal, and you can mark that affiliation as former, and you can even put the end date on it. And so this affiliation object is fairly rich, and it joins a organization to a contact, and that's how we track where people are involved. So you may wish to have where they work. We would call that the primary affiliation. That's a and there's even a checkbox on the affiliation object to say this is the primary one, and that can have whatever meaning you want in your organization. But the NPSP authors say that they suggest that you sort of standardize that to be where the person is employed. Obviously, a person can be employed in many places or not employed at all. So really, it's up to you. But know that you can designate one of them as a primary. Um, you want to put all titles and roles in the affiliation object. If you wish to have title and role on the contact, there is a way to do some customization with declarative tools, and actually take the primary affiliation and transfer the title and role to the contact if you'd like. So this is how you capture employment relationships, student relationships to a school, granting committee memberships, foundation board memberships, your own board memberships. You should capture in your own organization all the different affiliations you have. And let's go back to my org and see if I have done that. Let's go back to Street Youth Ministry. And let's open up the affiliated contacts list just for a second here. And we're going to see that there's a bunch of people. This person was a former intern. This person was a former volunteer coordinator. This person was a former admin. Let's see if we can find some current ones. This person is a recovering client. This person is a current admin. And if we looked at more and more of the relationships, we will find board members, we will find staff members, we will find interns, and so we have all these people represented in Salesforce and this rich affiliation network to Street Youth Ministry. So that's kind of how we do that. And if you are advanced and can customize Salesforce with declarative functions, you can do some things like you can start rolling up the impact that the people who are affiliated with this organization have and create what I call a lead score for the affiliation network. So the lead score of the affiliation network is that all the people affiliated with Street Youth Ministry have a very high lead score, 166,000. And you can think of that as potential annual worth to us, if you want. It's just a number, but that's how we try to calibrate it. If someone gives $1,000 a year, or we think they could or should or whatever, we give them a lead score in the affiliation network of 1,000. If someone volunteers 4 hours a year and we think that's worth $100, then we kick up that lead score by 100. And so that's how we have calibrated it. But you can begin to do things with this affiliation network. You can report on it. You have it available, and you can summarize it. Again, if we go to me, we can see some interesting information about me. I have an affiliation network, and I'm affiliated with it. It happens to be summarized right at the very top. That's not a standard feature, it's something I built. declaratively, but I am affiliated with the Austin Nonprofit User Group, Covenant Presbyterian Church, Salesforce Saturday, Street Youth Ministry, Texas A&M University, University Area Partners, University of Texas. Those are all of my current affiliations. I have some former affiliations with high schools and colleges and things, but those are my current ones. And you can see that at the very top. And I'm contributing to the network of all those organizations because I'm affiliated with them. So that's kind of how that works. Let's go. I think we've covered everything on affiliation. So now you have the basics of the two main objects, contacts and accounts, but they're reversed in importance from the commercial world. People are most important, and then we have two kinds of record types on accounts. People are always affiliated with a household account, and then there are these organizations that they connect to through an affiliation. And then most nonprofits are relational, and we care a great deal about the relationship between people, so we have an object to track that. And so those four objects are very important, and you'll want to use them all the time. In fact, let me go to a dashboard. Let me go to a dashboard that shows those. This is a dashboard I built. If you're a developer and want to help me, I want to make this a dashboard that anyone can install in their org for free off of the App Exchange, but that's never going to be something I'm going to do, so I would love to have someone help me do that. This dashboard shows how many of each object you have, and we have covered all four of the objects on the top line of this now. I have 12,000 accounts in my organization, and it's still calculating how many contacts we have, but it's going to be about 11,000, I believe, 10 to 11,000. We have 7,000 affiliations, so we have linked this 11,000 people in 7,000 ways to accounts, and we have 2,000 relationships. We have linked contacts in 900 ways. We haven't done a really great job of relationships. And I say 900 because every one of them is reciprocal, and so there's two relationships for every one actual relationship, because you have to have two relationships to describe the directedness each way. So we have done a great job with affiliations. You would love to see a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 or 3-to-1. If this were a perfect database, I would be seeing, I would assume every contact has 4 or 5 relationships. So I would be seeing, 50,000 relationships here, and we're nowhere near that. And if this were a perfect world, everyone belongs to at least a couple organizations that we would be able to find out about pretty easily. So I should be seeing, 22,000 affiliations. We're doing a great job of harvesting our data. It takes time and effort to get to that, but we're working on it. And so that is the end of this second lecture. You now know about those 4 objects. You might guess that we're going to learn about more objects that are on this chart. We're going to learn about campaigns and donations and volunteer objects. The 2 black ones here are things that I added specifically to help me capture program management. But that's what we've done so far. I hope to continue recording these. So if it's been helpful, make a small donation to Street Youth Ministry. You'll help homeless young adults, and spread the word. We're going to keep adding to this video list on our YouTube playlist. Thanks very much. Bye.